Hello everyone, Lisa Sabaniak here from lifelikeyoumeanit.com, and I'm coming to you live to talk about beating imposter syndrome again. And you'll have to pardon my Where's Wally look. I am currently dealing with shingles. So anybody who has had shingles or knows somebody who's had shingles, you know my pain. And so having constrictive things is not good. So anyways, my apologies. That has also been the reason why I haven't been live in the last few days, is because the pain and the exhaustion and the nausea that comes with it just wiped me out. But I'm back. I am still dealing with it, but it's much, much better. And I'm just working in small spurts because that's what you've got to do. You've got to listen to what your body is saying. You've got to honor yourself and what it is that you need. And then you need to show up for yourself, right? And give yourself what it is that you need. So you've got to listen to these messages that you get. So today on Tuesday is my first day back to work since Thursday. And you know what? I work for myself. And, you know, you would think that that means, oh yeah, you can take off whatever time that you want or need. But anybody who is an entrepreneur and works for themselves knows that that's the least likely thing to actually happen. That is until you are really honoring yourself and are really connected to what it is that you need. Because my life is not so important that I need to push myself through anything, something like shingles, to be able to do my job. Right? I can afford to take those few days off and get myself back up to snuff. So what I would like to talk to you about today in regards to imposter syndrome is we're going to talk about an NLP strategy that we'll call open to doubt. Now, open to doubt is, we can look at this in many different ways for many different situations. But for imposter syndrome, I would like to look at some of those thoughts that you have with imposter syndrome. You know, the ones that say that you're not good enough, that you can't do it, that anybody else would be better than you. Nobody's going to buy what you have to sell. Nobody wants what you have to offer. Whatever it is that you are saying to yourself. You're worthless, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're useless. These are the things that I used to say to myself, right? Have a real strong look at what it is that you say to yourself and write it down so that you can get it out of your head and onto paper, into the physical, so you can stop actually thinking about it, right? And then really have a look at those words. And I want you to just take a moment to ask yourself if it's possible that you could be wrong. Is it possible that just because you think it doesn't mean it's true? Is it possible that there are other people in the world who know you, respect you, maybe even love you, who would never in a million years think to describe you to somebody else using any of the narrative that you've just written down? And when you really allow yourself to be open to doubt and realize that the thoughts that you have are driving your whole world, and just because you've had the thought, for whatever reason, right? My thoughts of being useless and worthless were put there literally because those were words that were spoken to me every day for 10 years of my life in my childhood, right? Due to child abuse. But I was the one that continued them on. I decided to continue that suffering on long after we left my abuser by continuing to say that mantra to myself. I made that choice every day. And some might say, you know, even myself looking back could say it was because I hated myself. I had a lot of self-loathing that was going on at that time. But whatever it was, it really had become my truth, right? I was so comfortable with this notion that I'm not good enough that coming out of that comfort zone was very difficult. I couldn't allow myself to actually see myself succeeding at things, so I had to put myself down anytime that I did. So it matched my narrative until I was able to take that look in the mirror and say, well, hang on a second. I'm choosing to keep this suffering here simply out of comfort, simply out of habit. It's become my norm, but it doesn't have to be my truth. I'm the one making it my truth. So is it possible that I'm wrong, that I'm not stupid, I'm not ugly, I'm not worthless, I'm not useless? And in my case, that was actually a very easy switch to happen, because it was the words of somebody else, it was the actions of somebody else that had ingrained that in me. And I didn't have any respect for this person, still don't, of course, because of the abuse that I went through under his hand. So it was a very easy transfer for me to actually say, oh, wait a second, if those words got there, if that feeling and that knowing that I have that I'm, suck, if they're there because of the words and the actions of somebody who I don't trust and I don't respect, well, then it's pretty easy to make that connection that those words then aren't true, that I'm the one that's given them truth because I decided that they were true. And now I can just as easily decide that they're not true, just by being open to doubt and allowing myself to look at other people and people who love me, people who care about me and respect me, and think about how they would describe me to somebody else and realize at no time would they ever say that I was stupid or ugly or worthless or useless. They would never say that. So who's wrong? Are they wrong? Or am I wrong? It's all a matter of choice, really. It's my choice on who I'm going to be open to doubt on being wrong. I can choose all of my friends and loved ones to be completely wrong. They just don't see the real me. And I can keep telling myself that and allow myself to have that mantra continue. Or I can make the huge, astonishing revelation that is really hard to come to terms with at first, but very empowering afterwards, that I'm actually making the choice. I'm the one that's wrong. I'm choosing to look at myself in this way. I'm choosing to put all of this trust into these words, like if saying them and having these thoughts in the first place make them true. Those are two different things. It doesn't have to be true just because I think it. And so that first moment of being open to doubt is the moment that things start to change. So that's what I would like to offer you today in beating imposter syndrome. First, identify all of those thoughts that you have and write them down. And along with some of the other tips that I've given in my other videos, go ahead and check out my series on IGTV, in YouTube, or on Facebook, and see what it is that I'm talking about with other steps that you can take. But for this one, really wholly and truly look at each one of those thoughts and ask yourself, is it possible that just because the thought exists doesn't mean that it's actually true? Is it possible I've got it wrong? And then ask yourself, what would my friends and my colleagues and my loved ones, what would they say about me? Would they use this sentence? Would they describe me in this way? The answer is more than likely going to be no. And then the last thing is to ask yourself really wholly and truly, well, who's wrong and who's right? Right? You can't both be right if you think you're worthless and they think that you're amazing. Somebody's got to be wrong. Is it possible you're the one that's wrong? I hope that this helps. I know that they sound like they're these quick and easy fixes, but they kind of are. I know how gripping imposter syndrome can be. I lived with it for 20 years. I also know how empowering it is, that moment that you make the shift, and how embarrassing it is for a few seconds to realize that that shift was always possible and you were just making the choice to not make it. And then in the very next second, when you're about to put yourself down for that, to instead actually feel so incredibly empowered and inspired to continue on and look at other areas of your life in the same way. I know that feeling, and I know that you can have it too. So go ahead and watch the rest of my series. Go ahead and have a look at my website, lifelikeyoumeanit.com, and join my mailing list. Get in on this action. Get the help that you need. And last but not least is my amazing anxiety to action cheat sheet that I have specifically for entrepreneurs. designed with questions in mind to get you to shift the way that you are looking at things in order to help you with your anxiety so that you can stop getting in your own way to success. Now, you can access this free cheat sheet by just going to the link in my bio, or you can access it by going to anxiety2action.lifelikeyoumeanit.com. anxiety2action.lifelikeyoumeanit.com. Free cheat sheet. Take me up on the offer. It's one decision that you've got to make that I guarantee you is going to change everything. Bless. I hope this helps, and hopefully I'll be back on tomorrow. If not, I'm just resting and taking care of myself with my case of shingles, but I will be back as soon as I've got the energy to do so. Love to you all. Bye.